evening, and welcome to episode 5 of my Authenticity series here on RadioWorks.World. I'm your authentic host, Mareli Scott, and I'd like to welcome Marina Nani. She will be joining our conversation again. Hello, Marina.
Wow, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to Radio World, because you know what? Now something amazing is happening. Marily is here and she is going to tell you everything about what's next. Over to you, Marily.
Yes, welcome to everybody. So a few weeks ago, I said that there's so many aspects still of authenticity that we can still discuss and needs to be talked about. And as I explained then, if you maybe missed it, I like to simplify things and make it easy to remember for everybody. So I decided to compare everything to the human body. I use that as a guide, and um, then a few weeks ago I started, and we talked about how an authentic person looks, and then we talked about the authentic mind, and then I talked about the authentic vision. So tonight we are with the ears, and I'll be talking about authentic listening. And Marina, once again, you please feel free to jump in whenever you want to say something.
I'm ready to take notes. I'm ready to listen because you are so authentic. And I love everything about your mind, about the way you see the world and the way you help other people to discover themselves, their authentic self, before they go on a journey. And I think it's a must-have experience. Over to you, Mareli.
Thank you, Marina. So first of all, I would just want to say that there's a big difference between hearing and between listening. It's not synonyms to each other. And for me, hearing is, not making the decision to hear something. You just hear it voluntarily, and you're not necessarily interested in hearing what is said. It doesn't interest you, and um, you will also most likely not remember what you heard because you're not interested in. And on the other side, listening to me is authentic, and that's why I didn't say authentic hearing or made that the episode, but authentic listening, because listening to me is having an interest in what is being heard or being said, and yes, so that's the first point I wanted to make. And then authentic person for me also has the ability to listen to what is not being said. So I think a lot of times we can learn more from what someone is not saying than by what someone is saying. And reading between the lines. For example, just a simple example, if we all have the habit of saying, when you ask someone, or you greet someone, and you're like, how are you? And everybody says, good, thank you, fine. But they are not necessarily fine. And sometimes we can pick up on that, or hear in the tone of their voice, something is maybe wrong, but it's a habit of just saying it's good. And I think it's important to tune in and to be able to hear that, what is actually going on behind what is being said. I don't know if it makes sense.
Well, Marily, it makes total sense because you see, each person could be like an open book if you know how to read it. And I love what you said about listening to what was not said, because that will give you an unfair advantage. Because
Yes.
even when you listen to yourself, when you talk to yourself, if that happens, it happens to me a lot. So you know that listening is just giving a chance, just giving
Yes.
a chance to, it's not only the most sincere form of respect for me. But it's learning from the person in front of you, learning what they're about, learning what they're not saying. And listening is a science, and I'm sure you are going to take us through the whole process of learning listening, the art of listening, and making the difference, because unless you make the difference, you can't make the difference. So it's the opposite of talking is listening.
Yes.
But the same way, the opposite of hearing is listening. Over to
Yes.
you, Marley.
Wow, that's very true. And I think there's a big hunger in people to be heard, to have people to listen to them and to give them their time and their attention. And I also see that, I don't have children, but I see that in, parenting as well, how children really rely and need that, that attention, that someone listens to them, um, with their full attention. And it can have such a profound impact on someone's life as well, if there's someone that's really listening to you. And that's what's so amazing about you and your radio station as well, and your vision, because you give us all the opportunity to be heard, and to get our messages out there and to share our experience and our stories.
So I think Marley, it's more about it's more about teaching the world to listen, because
Yes,
you personally, and each one of our hosts and each one of our guests got an amazing message. And that message is not just something superficial, something that it will not change your life. It's something of substance, something. I don't know if you know how a pearl. Perhaps you know how a pearl is formed because you live in South Africa, so you know a lot more than I do about pearls. So you see, it's like the message was creating in time. Even if it's a short message, even if it's just 10 minutes or 20 minutes or 5 minutes, that message took their entire life to be
yes,
created. And for the world not to listen, I think it's, at least, to say the least, is sinful. So, yes, I
yes,
want you to be heard, but I want, more than anything, I want the world to listen to you.
yes.
Because
Thank you.
the listening works like a boomerang. The more you listen, the more you are listened. Over to you,
Yes.
Mareli.
Wow. That's why I love our conversations. There's so many, new, so much clarity, that I get from having you part of the conversation.
Oh,
I just
thank you.
love
I'm
it.
very grateful and very humble. I feel it's my privilege to learn from you, and listening to you, I feel it's like it's like like a tea, a tea that you drink and you feel good instantly. This is how I feel each time I listen to you.
I'm very happy to hear that. Thank you. Okay, so my next point is, um, authentic people don't believe everything they hear. Um, I mean, we hear so many things, and there are so many people gossiping and talking negatively, about, not necessarily about people, but about situations and a lot of stuff. Like we talked about in other episode as well, we are pre-programmed actually to be negative, and but it's important to not listen and believe to everything you hear. It's important to to test everything and decide for yourself. And in the same sense as well, don't lend your ears out to anyone. Don't gossip with people. And if you hear something bad about someone, um, give them, like I said the other time as well, give them a chance first. Don't just don't just believe everything you hear. Don't take that as a fact. Give every person, a fair chance to let personally get to know them first, and do not be so quick to judge people. Yeah, so
But what do you think people are so quick to judge other people? I mean, um, I know the span of attention is very short. It's like after 3 seconds, even you are listening to somebody, um, after the first 3 seconds, you start telling yourself, yeah, I know that happened to me, it was so and so. So within 3 seconds, so come on, you need more than 3 seconds to get the message. And maybe it's worth the trouble of receiving that message, because you don't know what is in for you unless you listen, unless you are prepared to listen, to actually listen. How would you ever benefit from a great message? Maybe that story of the Greek soldier who was carrying he was wounded and he was carrying a message, and this is how the marathon was it's replicated all over the world. He had to deliver the message with the price of his own life. So you never know how important that message is for you, because a messenger is just a messenger. The person in front
yes,
of you is just the messenger. But the fact
yes,
that is delivering something for you, the fact that is in front of you at that moment in time is no accident.
yes. Wow. Yes. Um, well, I think a lot of times also people are not always open for learning and advice from other people. And I think, a lot of times people judge others because they are insecure in themselves. I think that's a lot of times, so they don't want the attention on themselves, or they want to look better than someone else, or, or bring someone down if they feel someone is, trying to steal the sun from them, which is, in any case, it can't happen. But if people feel threatened for some way and about something, I think a lot of times that's why they will gossip. Um, but it's also important to listen to your heart and your intuition. I think we really need to tune into it more. Um, we all we a lot of times we have this habit of feeling something, doubting something. You hear that voice in the back of your head, or you just know something is not 100% right, but we tend to push that aside, and especially if it doesn't correlate with our ideas or our agendas, we tend to just ignore it, and later on we might bump our heads. So I think we really need to trust our intuition on with a lot of things. And I was at a JT Fox event again last night, and I think a lot of people talk about your gut or your gut feeling, just for me, intuition. But he also said that 95% of decisions you make trusting your gut will be the right decision. And because other times we
Sorry.
tend to reason, other times we tend to reason, with everything in our mind. No, but it's okay. No, you know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's very important. And another thing is to have a sympathetic ear. We are so busy every days with their own things, their own agendas, own problems and things that's going on in their lives, and in such a hurry that there are a lot of times people that are really struggling and going through a tough time, and then we don't give them attention on the time to listen to them and to just let them speak about it, and talk about it and lend them a sympathetic ear. And it's also important to not, like you also said earlier, a lot of times, someone talks to you and, for example, they tell you the story or they are venting. And then a lot of times we tend to jump in and say, oh, yes, that happened to me as well. Or, yes, I know what you're talking about. And I think it's really important to know when to talk and when to listen. And to, give that person a chance to tell you what they want to tell. And because otherwise you're also busy in your head thinking about what you're going to say next or what you're going to answer, and then you're actually just hearing and not listening. Do you agree, Marina?
Absolutely, and I'm taking notes actually.
Okay. I was just afraid the connection was lost again. um, and then it's also important in conversations with people more successful than you and with more wisdom. It's also important to talk less and to listen more, because I believe there's much more wisdom to be found by listening and observing than from speaking. I mean, while you're speaking, you're not really learning something, and so I think you need to again know when to talk and know when to listen.
I think it's also
Yeah.
a part of that that idea I had a couple of years ago, and I promised myself that I will never be the smartest person in a room.
Oh, yes. Yes. If you can do that, I mean, then you can't help but to grow. Are you still there?
Yes, I'm
Oh,
listening. I'm
sorry.
writing something.
Oh. Yes, you need to surround yourself with people more successful than you, people with more experience and more wisdom, so you can listen to them and apply what you learn from them. Like I said earlier as well, you need to have a hunger to learn, and that's one of the best ways, to learn. If you can't listen, you won't learn a lot. And so today I posted on Facebook as well. It's a quite long quote, but I love this quote, and I thought it's just so appropriate. And so I'm going to read it slowly because it's long. And I would like to conclude today's show with this, and I'll talk to you after that again. So the quote is from Mia Hollow, and it goes, every now and again, you will feel a dull ache in your soul, a longing for something without a name. If I ever told you to obey anything, this would be it. Listen to the call of your authentic self, that part of you that lives just outside of your own skin. Let it have its way with you. I've died 100 times trying to ignore it. Yeah, that was a very
Wow.
powerful quote for me.
Wow. So, Mareli, it's a very profound topic, and perhaps it's not for everyone. And but I know our listeners need this type of clarification, needs the technicality behind success. And what you are giving our listeners is exactly that, the little steps, the little things that make a huge difference. It's like small hinges who will open big doors into what is available out there. And I got this quote from William Shakespeare, which I love, and it's very short. But at first it's not connected to what we've been discussing. But because everything I learn and I treasure is from listening, I want to say this. So it's not by me, it's by William Shakespeare, and is one of my greatest inspirations in my life. And he said, "We know what we are, but know not what we may be."
Wow, that's so powerful.
Thank you so much, Marley. I learned a great deal today, and I hope our listeners are taking notes and they could listen again and again. Sometimes you have to listen a couple of times, and this is the beauty of your shows, because you could replay, and if you miss something, you could take it from where you left it. So if the dog barks or the bell rings at the door, you always could go back and listen again.
Yes.
What is our next topic for our listeners to know and get the sync with it?
Well, I will talk you. So we did the ears today, and next it will be the mouth. So it will be, authentic, authentic voice, or
Wow,
the authentic voice. Yeah.
wow, wow. So now is about the message. You become the messenger.
Yes.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Marily. I'm so grateful for you. Even you weren't well lately. You put yourself together and you came and you deliver your message. And I know how much that means to our listeners and to me personally. And until next time, from both of us, is goodbye.
Bye bye.